And I think the people should use it to vote for
Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, in London, England, as well as Paris, France, of course, you good old boys in Canada. We love you in Africa, the Big C tribe, but there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south. In the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful November the 2nd, 2020. Ronda Deportes, bonjour, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, been kind of depressed over the weekend. I mean, all these little kids came by taking candy, and none of them had the courtesy to drop any off. But I want to thank our frontline healthcare workers, our nurses, doctors, our first responders. They take care of everybody, regardless of the day.
Yeah, they take care of everybody. It's amazing. Kids come by stealing candies. It's all fair level war. I want to say that this show is sponsored by here in Northern California. Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars. Also, all around the world, just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he'll do his thing from 3,000 miles away, and I really appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Spotify. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Roku TV, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. But you better have a smart TV, or you'll be looking at a still picture. Man, Big C, the whole country just needs to pause for the election tomorrow night. But let's never pause on the Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. Big C, why is that so important to you?
Well, as everybody takes out the time to vote tomorrow, Charlton, on November 3rd, please don't hesitate in thinking about the person who is going to take care of our military veterans when you vote. We lose some 24 veterans a day to suicide. We've lost close to 12,000 veterans to COVID-19. We have lost some veterans at a horrific rate, and they're not getting the medical care and attention that they need. We have so many with mental, physical, and financial disabilities struggling in America every day. I know everybody's thoughts have been on the pandemic. I know everybody's thoughts has been on the election.
Yeah.
But never forget to think about our veterans and what they've meant to this country and what they've done for this country. We give out the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number, Charlton, and I know that's not enough because it should become a concerted effort from all Americans to think about our veterans on a daily basis. Give out the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number whenever you can, and do more than just say thank you for your service. That's
very well said, Big C. That's why I love giving that out. I really do. I mean, so many times we take things for granted, but you don't have to. 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net, and you can get our veterans some help. Also, I'm very happy to be affiliated with Valley Homes Weekly TV on Dish TV, DirecTV, AT&T Uverse, TV 53, home of the San Francisco Giants and the Say Hey Kid, as well as the home run leader Barry Bonds. When you reach out to him, just tell him Big C sent you. Our goal is simple: recruit 10,000 real estate agents and brokers all over this great country to put people back to work, just like McDonald's does it. Car dealerships do it. Sports teams are doing it too. Watch TV and real estate work for you. 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. If you're looking for opportunities in real estate, go to bigcsports.pacwm.com. That's bigcsports.pacwm.com, and you can see opportunities. I want to make sure, Big C, that all over the world, people understand in your hand. You have the power to change things in your hand. It's amazing. Just pick up the phone and speak into it. Say, play Big C Sports Podcast. You'll see our app pop up on Apple Podcasts, on iHeartRadio Podcasts, Google Podcasts, so many applications. Big C, isn't it amazing? The power to change the world is in your hands. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, technology has changed the plight of the world. I mean, everybody walks around with a computer in their hands. I remember when computers first came out. I mean, it was this big desktop unit. Now, even children walk around with them.
Yeah, they walk around with them, too. And you know what's really important? In your hand, just like following Big C Sports. Just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. Sometimes you don't even have to say that. The name Big C Sports Podcast is so powerful now. But also, what's more powerful, America, it's too late to ask you to send anything in through the mail to vote. It's too late for that. But you can still get registered. A lot of people vote on Election Day, which is tomorrow, November 3rd. We've been asking for almost 4 years now to go vote and get registered. You can still text the word vote to 26797. That's vote to 26797 to get registered. Tell all your friends to do it. Tell them Big C, the NFL said vote. Big C, they're saying almost 100 million people have already voted. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, that's American involvement, Charlton. That's the way it should always be. You have an opportunity with so many people that fought for decades ago to give people the right to vote, and you should exercise that.
Exercise it. Always bet on you in life. You can pause more. You can think more. You can love more. You can cry more. You can laugh. You can be happy. Tell someone you love them. Every day, it might be the only time they hear it. I want to make sure that this is a special moment. You know how fortunate we are, Big C? There's a lot of people that I talk to about the election coming up. And oftentimes, most people, their conversations only go as far as their living room or who's on the phone with them. We can speak to the whole world. What do you want to say the night before people go out and exercise their constitutional right, Big C? Your thoughts?
Charlton, this is a referendum on racism in America. It's not about equality. It's not about justice. This is a referendum on racism, whether it will stand or be abolished.
Yeah, it's a lot deeper than that, though, Big C. I mean, it's all, if you're a poor white person, it has nothing to do with race. It's about the haves and the have-nots, and I know people got to understand that. I was really, I won't say I was shocked, because I know people who drive truck all over the country. I have a family member who drives truck from the West Coast to the East Coast, and he talks about sometimes how he has 18 wheels, Big C, and sometimes people get between you and the guardrail, that 18-wheel truck, and they may not be able to see you when you pass them on the right side. That's why they should always pass on the left side. But they're down in Texas, and of course you would know it was Texas, Big C, because a lot of people don't read in Texas. But they were trying to run Joe Biden's bus off the highway, and they finally called in the highway patrol, and I guess they got up to him and broke it up. But Donald Trump said that they were just being kind. People die in accidents every single day. I'm asking people who go out and drive cars every day. Your president is telling people to be dangerous in driving just because somebody is his opponent. Big C, that is too reckless to vote in. Big C, your thoughts?
As I said, Charlton, this is a referendum on racism. That's a racial attack that was being done on that bus. It wasn't anything else. It wasn't about equality or protection. It was about getting his racial agenda across.
Yeah, but Joe Biden's white the last time I checked, and that to me, it's a lot deeper than just somebody's skin color. But that's just my opinion, and I just ask him.
I understand what you're saying about Joe Biden.
Yeah.
But he has attacked Kamala Harris more than he's attacked Joe Biden. And this is a referendum on her, saying that she will never be vice president of the United States and second in line. This is the attack that he goes to her with. And that's what they're thinking, that she's on that bus. Not Joe Biden. He was in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I think sometimes dumb people are just dumb no matter what it is. I would just call anyone, if you see that happening, you got to call the CHP. Even here in California, there were 100 cars that blocked off a major intersection on a major interstate highway, and they had the banners on, and they had Trump banners, and this is in the state of California, the Golden State. So I guess you good old boys down south and let them out of the bag, Big C.
This question, Charlton. Have you heard Trump at any time during his campaign ask black people to go out and do those things that you see his supporters doing? That's what you need to ask, and you'll understand the direction that it comes from.
Yeah, I haven't heard him ask white people to do it either, but he's asking people who believe in him to do it. Because I'm going to tell you something, Big C. I've had some people of color that have told me they're voting for the guy that looks like the former slave master that beat them the same way the Central Park Five got beaten, in the same way the housing discrimination. and they were saying they're going to vote for that guy that says he don't even like them. So I don't even understand. I guess the Willie Lynch letter was real, but in the national election, they have Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. They're ahead by 7 to 10 points nationally. The swing states are a little bit closer. It's about a 7 to 5 point swing there, and it looks like it's going to be a big turnout tomorrow. I just ask people. I'm thinking about my father served in this country, served the military, and a lot of people, they don't serve anything. All they do is talk. But to know that my father fought for this country and family members too, it's more important when people say get out and vote. I don't know if that's important to you, Big C, but our military, there's a lot on the line, more than just race, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, in my thoughts, Charlton, it comes down to race, because everybody that you see doing what Donald Trump says looks like him. And so that's the referendum that I look at as far as this. I've dealt with many votes over the years. I voted over a month ago. But the referendum to me and what Donald Trump has been spewing is racism. So that's what this vote is all about.
How do you explain when you have black Americans that are also, whether it's social media or not, that are saying the same garbage? It's as if they don't even see what skin color they are. They bought into something that I don't understand. What do you say to those people, Big C? Your thoughts?
Charlton, is no different than when there were slaves. There were slaves who worked in the field. There were slaves who worked in the house. And that slave who worked in the house, he would always say, we sick, boss. We hungry, boss. We feeling okay, boss. He was always weak. So he was doing better than the ones out in the field. It's no different than that in society today, Charlton. People can be slaves, regardless of complexion. But there's racism even within the race. I mean, slaves were racist against each other. And it's still that way in society today. So to have a few people choose to go with him, I mean, you have whites who don't go with him.
Yeah.
That's a choice that people make. But I'm still going to call that person racist just going with it.
Yeah, I think deeper than racism is about have and have-nots, whether you have money or health care or access to control what happens to your own body, and that affects people of all colors. On the federal level, there is some hope for people who want to vote, Big C. I mean, I don't take anything for granted, but a federal judge denied Donald Trump and the Republicans down in Texas. They were trying to throw out 127,000 early votes, and the courts have said no, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, this is the reason why he appointed over 200 federal judges and 3 Supreme Court justices, Charlton, because this election is going through the courts.
Yeah, well, it is going to go through the courts no matter what people think, because you have a knucklehead that knows he's probably going to be indicted, especially in New York State. He will be indicted before he's kicked out of the White House, and it's all fair and love and war. Also, Trump threatens Pennsylvania governor. Big C, if this wasn't real, it would be a book. But he threatens the governor of the state of Pennsylvania that if they do not block votes, and that there's going to be some ramifications. Does that make any sense, Big C? Your thoughts?
Like I said, he's setting all this up to go to the courts, Charlton.
Yeah, it's a shame. We know it's going to the courts, but it's all fair in love and war. People got to get out and make sure you vote. I know we have a game coming up tonight, Big C. It's I don't know who's really trying to watch the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as they're going to be up in New York. You would think they would be up there trying to vote, Big C, but they're going up to play the New York Giants tonight in a game that probably only a couple of people would watch, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, when you look at the way Tampa Bay has been playing as of late, Charlton, they're one of the best 3 or 4 teams in the NFL.
Yeah.
Tom Brady has thrown 17 touchdowns this year down in Tampa and only 4 interceptions. So that has made a huge difference in how Tampa has performed offensively this year. Their defense has been the best in the NFL the first part of this season, and that's what has them on top of their division, Charlton. And when you look at the New York Giants, they're in the division from hell, the NFC.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones seems to average a fumble a game at quarterback.
Yeah.
His receiving core is depleted. His running back core is depleted. Offensive line, some of them have COVID. The Giants are just a lackluster organization right now, and I don't see them getting any better tonight. I see them this time falling to Brady. Brady has always beaten them during the regular season.
Yeah.
He just had trouble in the Super Bowls with them.
And they don't have the same players this time. But if you're watching the game, you can enjoy it with that Big C burger. It really is a tasty burger. It comes with the exotic meats, Big C, and you only get it at participating restaurants. Also, enjoy the great taste of Budweiser Zero. It has 0 alcohol, and it goes great with the Big C burger. Big C, I remember one time back in college, I was out, just, you know how you date people and they bring you into the house. So I went with someone that was of opposite race, if that makes sense to you. And it was something for Thanksgiving. They had invited me to have some Thanksgiving leftovers. When it came down to the meat, they asked me if I wanted the dark meat or the white meat. And Big C, that was a little bit nervous for me because they all stared like I was voting for president. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, you got to be careful who you sit down and break bread with.
Yeah, you got to be careful. It reminds me of the election. Some people are asking me, so who you voting for? I tell them I'm voting for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I'm not falling for the okie doke. It is all fair and level, but it brings me back to when I was invited to have some Thanksgiving leftover, and they asked me, do I would prefer the dark meat or the white meat? And it was like I was voting for president. It was so tense in the room. It's all fair and level. I want to touch on what happened to some of the games over the past week. I want to go to Big C's NFL Week 8. And just look at some of the things that happened to get your thoughts on players. We know the Falcons got off the snide, and they beat the Carolina Panthers. That was a Thursday night game. It was 25-17. And did you say Arthur Blank was dressed for Christmas, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, he was looking like Santa's helper on the sideline, and this time he was dropping his tears on his back.
Yeah, it's all for the Falcons got the 25-17 win. I want to bring you right off the top. In my opinion, maybe the greatest game of the day, because it went down to the wire. Even though back and forth, either team could have won, it was the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're the only undefeated team left in the NFL. They're 7-0. They beat the Baltimore Ravens 28-24. And I think the Steelers of 1978 also started out 7-0 under the great Terry Bradshaw and Lynn Swann and Mean Joe Green and them good old boys. And they went on to win the Super Bowl. So we'll see what happens with this team. But give me your feeling on what you saw in the Steelers. They were kind of a bend-up break. They got a pick six to start the game, and then they got a pass breakup to end the game. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I saw this as a game of a struggling offense with the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson is only a shell of what he was last year. I think the NFL has figured him out. Last year they ran basically a gadget offense. Took a while for the NFL to get up to speed. But now everybody has tape on what they did.
Yeah.
And they've been able to shut him down. Lamar Jackson is not averaging 200 yards a game, Pat. You cannot win in the NFL if you're not doing that. And the running game is not what it was last year. The 4 turnovers, no team is going to win when you have 4 offensive turnovers. And that's what the Baltimore Ravens had in this game. And the Pittsburgh Steelers were an opportunistic team in taking care of those turnovers when they got them, scoring off of them. Ben Roethlisberger has turned back the clock offensively for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
He is playing as well now as he did 10 years ago, Charlton. And this Pittsburgh Steelers is just a dominant team. You have to take your hat off to Mike Tomlin, the head coach. Because when all the other coaches and the young coaches in the NFL are getting accolades about the next guy, this is the new wave of where the NFL is going with this offensive-minded guru, Mike Tomlin does not get the credit for being one of the greatest coaches in the NFL.
Yeah. They wanted to get rid of him a couple of years ago when Big Ben was injured. They said, Tomlin needs to go. I remember the radio stations in Northern California were calling for a Tomlin to go. No, he personifies NFL football coach. But I want to defend Lamar Jackson. He threw 2 interceptions in the game. And right down to the wire, the last play of the game, Harbaugh thought it was, helmet-to-helmet targeting. I don't think so. Because Fitzpatrick was playing for the ball. They just happened to bump heads. But had he made a little bit better throw or had the receiver come 1 yard closer to the goal line, then the Ravens could have won that game. So even with a pick six and an interception, I think he still had them right there knocking on the door, Big C. Your thoughts?
If all the ifs and buts were put in the net where he still made the turnover. Charlton, you fumble the ball twice.
Yeah.
You throw 2 interceptions. You're completing less than 60% of your passes.
Yeah.
You're not going to win in the NFL.
Yeah, I still think that, man, he's right there knocking on the door, but it's all fair and level where I still think that Jackson's only going to get better, and he was doing his thing on the ground. Big C, sometimes a Dolphin can beat a Ram if they can convince the dumb Ram to get in the water. And that's what happened. They had turnovers, returns for touchdowns, special teams played a big part, and the Dolphins getting the win over the LA Rams 28-17. Tua Tagovailoa gets his first touchdown pass, and he looks like he looked at Alabama at least for 1 touchdown pass. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the Dolphins need to figure out what they want to do. Tua was very inept in this game.
Yeah.
And this even begs the question, why did you bench Ryan Fitzpatrick?
Yeah.
Fitzpatrick had been playing great all year. And Tua comes into the game and passes for 94 yards in an NFL game. That's laughable, Charlton. Actually, he lost the game to the Los Angeles Rams. The Los Angeles Rams gave the Dolphins a win. That defense scored 2 touchdowns. Special teams had a kick return for a touchdown, Charlton. That was the first punt return in Miami Dolphins history. Think about it. They've been around since 1960, and that was their first punt return for a touchdown in franchise history. But other than the offense, the Dolphins scored 21 points. So when you think about take out Tua's game, Charlton, the Dolphins' defense and special teams won this game, and the Rams, they played a Thursday night game, and they had to travel 3,000 miles, have a 10 a.m. West Coast kickoff. They were jet lagged and tired, and the Dolphins took advantage of it.
Yeah, somebody does not like the schedule makers for the Los Angeles Rams. Tua did. He started with a fumble and then threw the touchdown pass to Devontae Parker. The Dolphins go to 4-3. The Rams fall to 5-3. And Big C, if you look at the teams in the AFC East, you're looking at Buffalo as a playoff team. The Dolphins might be a playoff team because the Jets and the Patriots are struggling, but congratulations to it. You get your first win as an NFL quarterback. Big C, the Kansas City Chiefs, I was laughing. I said, Big C, can you believe an NFL team gets a 19.5-point spread, and these good boys ended up winning by 26 points, 35-9 over the Jets? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, just as the Jets moniker says, just end the season soon. That's all it is. They don't have a prayer.
Yeah. Well, they might need a prayer. Nothing wrong with praying, Big C. It was Nick Keiser, 48, DeMarcus Robinson, Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes. They all celebrated touchdown. I mean, they had a great game. But I thought that even the point spread was a little bit insulting for an NFL team. But the Jets, they're not anywhere close to the team they had when Broadway Joe snuck it in from the goal line back in the Super Bowl against the Colts. Big C. Mahomes had 5 touchdown passes, 2 of which went to Tyreek Hill. Sam Darnold was held to, oh man, don't ever get mononucleosis because he only had 133 yards passing. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, that's the Jets and where they are. I don't even know if the Jets are seriously trying to win a game. I know it's hard to say about NFL players because they're all playing for their careers, Charlton, and several of them have been traded in the past week, but the Jets organization, they're totally inept right now. Yeah,
it's as if they're inept and they don't care. I told them, leave, everything that look good to you ain't good to you, if that makes sense when you're dating girls in New York City, Big C. But good job for the Kansas City Chiefs covering the spread. I'm sure the people in Las Vegas said, see, I told you so. Man, what made me almost throw up was the Minnesota Vikings 28, the Green Bay Packers 22, and it looks like they found a way to hand the ball off to a guy by the name of Dalvin Cook, who scored almost every time he touched the ball in the first half. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the Vikings were cooking this weekend, Charlton, with Dalvin Cook, 266 yards of total offense. He had just about twice as many yards as your cousin had passing the football. But this is the story of the Minnesota Vikings. They go as Dalvin Cook goes, not as your cousin goes.
It's all fair 11 war. Dalvin Cook, 4 touchdowns. The Vikings upset the Packers 28-22. Aaron Rodgers had 3 touchdown passes of his own, but they could not get back over the hill and beat Minnesota. Aaron Rodgers, oftentimes, he looked so good, Big C, and then other times, even with 3 touchdown passes, they had a hard time just staying on the field. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, your defense has to play. Aaron only plays offense last I checked. And with Dalvin Cook scoring 4 rushing touchdowns, that's controlling the clock, y'all. They're also catching the ball out of the backfield. He's a handful. He's leading the NFL in rushing touchdowns this year.
Yeah, it's all fair and 11 war. Big C, when you think about it, Cook had his knee repaired. And I know there's players that go in and out of surgery. And for whatever those doctors are doing, I know POTUS does not believe in doctors, Big C, but they repaired a man's knee that would have ended a career about 3 decades ago, and he's rushing for 4 touchdowns. So congratulations to the medical doctors. Also, the Indianapolis Colts, 41. The Detroit Lions, 21. It's so much for Detroit's win streak, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, when we talk about the Indianapolis Colts, we talk about their defense. And their defense has been solid all year. I know they had a couple of hiccups in the schedule and lost a couple of games, but they showed Matthew Stafford that they're for real, and they dominated. Phillip Rivers basically plays mistake-free football, and when he does that, this offense is clicking on all cylinders for the Ponies there in Indianapolis.
Yeah, nothing wrong with having a horseshoe on the side of your helmet as all fair and level wars. Think about it. 3 touchdown passes, Matthew Stafford. Jordan Wilkins, 89 rushing yards, and 1 rushing touchdown helped Indianapolis to a big victory. You know how much better when you think about Phillip Rivers? He looks a lot better when he has a run game behind him. So good job for Indianapolis. Big C, John Gruden, he went back to Cleveland, and he got on the winning side, and Baker Mayfield, so much for saying that Odell Beckham Jr. is a problem. I bet he was laughing at the Raiders 16 and the Browns 6. It was windy. But I can't believe the Browns dropped the game when everyone was praising Baker Mayfield last week, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, the Raiders came in and played football. The wind didn't help either team, but, Baker Mayfield, when he does not hand the ball off to his running back, he will always have problems. And this was one of those games that he forgot he had Kareem Hunt in the backfield and refused to give him the ball, and it cost the Browns once again a victory.
Yeah, he might want to call Dalvin Cook and say, how'd you guys beat the Packers? They ran it. That's how they beat the Packers. They ran it. They didn't have a guy trying to throw his way into another TV commercial, but it's all fair and level war. Congratulations to the Raiders doing their thing. Derek Carr threw for the go-ahead touchdown to Hunter Renfrow early in the fourth quarter, and then Daniel Carlson sealed the game with a 24-yard field goal with less than 5 minutes to play. Big C, the Raiders are kind of Jekyll and Hyde, but this team, they got lucky that they played a team in Cleveland that had a guy that's looking at making more commercials than he is winning football games. I'm not knocking Baker. They're giving him money, so why not practice commercials instead of reading the playbook? Big C, the Cincinnati Bengals, this had to send shockwaves to all the good old boys down south. I hear they ran out of mason jars, if that makes sense to you, down in Tennessee. Them good old boys from Cincinnati, 31-20 over the Tennessee Titans. I don't think anyone saw that coming, Big C. Your thoughts?
No, the Titans are on a 2-game skid. They lost last week to Pittsburgh. Just now they moved this week to the Bengals. Joe Burrow gets his second win as an NFL quarterback. And he was solid offensively. I mean, he's making all the big plays that you expect.
Yep.
I mean, when they traded Carlos Dunlap, I didn't think that the Cincinnati Bengals defensive line would have much. But they dominated this Tennessee offense. They shut down Derrick Henry, and they held Ryan Tannehill in check.
Yeah, they really did. Well, Henry he ran for 11 yards and a touchdown. That was his biggest highlight of the day. But the Bengals, when you think about Joe Burrow, he had 2 touchdown passes in the game. And this is a kid, he knows how to throw the football. Can you imagine when they find a running back like the days of Ickey Woods from back in the day at UNLV, Edison High School in Fresno? That good old boy was doing his thing. They need a running back like Ickey Woods from way back in the day. And the Bengals might be next year looking at maybe even over a 500 team. We'll have to see how it goes with their passing game and the run game. Big C, sometimes the universe says it's time to come on in and stop playing. I know the New England Patriots had a lot of players miss the season because of COVID-19, but they went up to Buffalo and they had them right where they wanted them. Cam Newton got hit and fumbled. The Bills come away with a 24-21 win. I'm not giving up on the Patriots. Josh Allen was 11 for 18. He only had 154 yards and an interception. He had a rushing touchdown, and then Zach Moss had 2 rushing touchdowns. New England's not that good of a team, but they were right there knocking on the door, Big C. Your thoughts?
Yeah, but this is the thing I've been talking about Cam Newton for the past couple of weeks. When you get down there close to the goal line, you got to protect the football.
2 hands.
And that's what Cam Newton did not do. I mean, New England should have won this game. Cam Newton once again let a game get away, and it's 3 weeks in a row that he seemed to play uninspirational football. And for some reason, Cam is not the quarterback that he was at the start of the season.
Yeah, sometimes people come back from an injury and they rush out there because they want the opportunity, but it's not always there. We're going to take what's called the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. And when we come back, we're going to talk more about some football. And make sure you get out and vote, even if you vote for Big C. We'll be back in just a moment. All right, we are back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. There's so many apps, and I really do appreciate that you can follow Big C. You don't need Tucker Carlson. You don't need Sean Hannity You know, no matter whether it's Chris Cuomo, it doesn't matter, Don Lemon, Wolf Blitzer, Big C Sports, we have our own coverage of the election. Also, we do sports and politics. Nobody in the world does it the way that we do it, and that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Big C, sometimes when you say that Russell Houdini Wilson is a little bit backed up because he didn't have a good running game, and the defense gets upset and gets tired of hearing that they can't stop the run, that turns them on. I'm going to tell you, there is some trouble brewing in San Francisco. I've been saying it since last year. The Seattle Seahawks 37, the 49ers 27. Mullen came in and led the 49ers on 3 drives for touchdowns. Garoppolo, he had led them on 1, but he's still shaky in the pocket, and he threw an interception early in the game, and that turned the tide, and now he has ankle problems. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, this was a much-needed win for the
Seattle
Seahawks.
Yeah.
If not for a personal foul call, they would be 7-0 in the division, Charlton. But they had to get back on their winning streak after losing last week to the Cardinals. The 49ers, you know, their season may be over when you think about it. Garoppolo went down with a high ankle sprain again. He's going to be out at least 6 weeks, Charlton. They also lost Kerry Kittles, the tight end, to a broken bone in his foot, so that's going to have him out at least 8 weeks. The 49ers are going to struggle offensively because when you lose Kittles, your biggest weapon, and his offense was functioning under Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, you might say that, but a lot of people don't believe that because it's their running game. If handing off is functioning, yeah, it's functioning, but when he got to throw down pass more than 20 yards, they're in trouble, Big C. Seattle dominated 49ers. Russell Wilson did his thing. DK Metcalf, I want to ask you something about him. Wilson had 4 touchdown passes, Big C, 261 passing yards. Metcalf led all receivers with 8 catches, 161 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and Seattle moved to 6-1 on the season. The 49ers fall to 4-4. Have you ever seen an athlete that is like DK Metcalf? He's about 6'4", about 230 pounds, and they're saying he runs like a 4.3. And it doesn't matter how fast you are. This guy, he can catch anything. He's big and strong. He can get a hit, and the DB falls down. And once he finds the corner, he's gone. Have you seen an athlete like him before, Big C? Your thoughts?
Charlton, there's been a wealth of receivers in the NFL in the size category of DK Metcalf. I mean, Harold Carmichael used to play with the Eagles. He was 6'7". Rich Castor was with the Jets. He was 6'5". Even Brandon Marshall, who played recently with the Bears, the Broncos, and even the Seahawks briefly, he was 6'4" and about 220. I mean, you know, he's a great athlete that's come along. His game is still developing. He's young. He hasn't gotten as good as he will be, Charlton. But he's in the right system there in Seattle. A quarterback who is patient with it.
Yeah.
And Russell Wilson and throws a very catchable football.
Yeah, I mean, he's very impressive. It made me want to do a couple more sit-ups, Big C. It's all fair level war. If sit-ups can make you look like that, congratulations to working out and having a great game. I'm somewhat surprised and a little bit disappointed. The LA Chargers, they go up to Denver, and they were doing fine until halftime, and somebody gave them some libations that they can relax, man. That makes, you know, some things are legal in Denver, in Colorado, and the Chargers keep relaxing too much. In the second half, they fall to the Broncos 31-30. They made a stunning comeback against the Chargers. Drew Lock had 3 touchdown passes, including the game winner to K.J. Hamler, Big C, as time expired. And the Chargers were up at one point 24-3 before the Broncos gave them some gift baskets. Big C, your thoughts?
And, you know, this has been the story of the Chargers season. When you think about their offense, it has been, you know, very explosive under the young quarterback, Justin Herbert. But their defense that they put all their money into has just not lived up to the billing that they came into this season with.
Yeah.
You know, you thought that the defense would carry this Charger team, but the Broncos offense found life under Drew Lock, who had been struggling the past couple of games, and all of a sudden he broke out, and the Chargers had to pay for it.
Yeah, I still say the head coach's job is secure, and they're going to have to learn how to win. And they're still a young team. I think Justin Herbert's up for maybe Rookie of the Year, especially as a quarterback position. I really like the way he's playing. but their defense, they just got to get a little bit better. Big C, it's all fair and level war. A game that might have been the game of the day. I was saying it was the Pittsburgh and Baltimore game, but the New Orleans Saints, they left the eye of the storm down in New Orleans. They went up north to the Windy City in Chicago, and they get a 26-23 win. The Saints needed to muster up any kind of energy to get past the Bears. It was a sloppy game, Big C, but Will Lutz hit the game-winning field goal, and they'll take it, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, the biggest question on this game is what is the Bears going to do at quarterback? I mean, they put in Nick Foles a couple of weeks ago, and he has struggled. He has not found a rhythm that will make this offense successful. Do they go back to Mitch Trubisky, middle of the stream, Charlton? The Bears are a tremendous defensive team. They beat up on the Saints all afternoon long. Drew Brees had his hands full. And Drew Brees, when you look at it, cannot push the ball down the field.
No.
He is struggling. I mean, they was out without his top two receivers in this game, Charlton, once again. Cook had a great game at tight end. Alvin Kamara, what can you say about him? Probably the best all-around back in the NFL. But the Bears' question right now is at quarterback.
Big C, who would you go with? You tend to go, just give me your thoughts on what would you go with and stick to the guy instead of pulling him in and pulling him out. Big C, your thoughts?
I would go back to Trubisky right now. Nick Foles is struggling. He just doesn't have the match. He is better served when he's coming off the bench. But I would start Trubisky, and if he's struggling in the game, then I would go to Foles. I think both of those quarterbacks perform better under that type of regimen.
Yeah, it gives them both a chance to look at each other. But congratulations anytime you go into the Windy City, and it's windy for the politics and get a win. That's a big win. Big C, I want to take you to the worst game. You ever had the worst game of your life? It's like a bad date or sometime a bad president. You can't wait until it's over. The Philadelphia Eagles 23, the Dallas Cowboys 9, Big C. It's almost like a baseball score for the Cowboys. All that money, and they get 9 points. The Eagles defeated the Cowboys in a very bad football game to close out Sunday night, and neither Carson Wentz nor Ben DiNucci played all that great. But in the end, the Eagles came away with the win, and that's all that matters. They traded in their Philly cheesesteak. They could have used the Big C burger last night. It's made with exotic meats. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I'm still not understanding why people keep praising the Dallas Cowboys. It's a team in name only. It's not a team in talent or ability.
Yeah.
And that's where the Dallas Cowboys are. They are a shell of what that organization used to be 20 years ago, and people got to stop reminiscing. This was a game that you knew would be terrible from the kickoff.
Yeah.
And the winner of this game would take a commanding lead in the NFC East. And the Philadelphia Eagles did that last night. Carson Wentz, with all his struggles and turnover problems, he still found a way to come up with a victory.
Yeah, he found a way to come up with a victory, Big C. Also, a lot of good things happen in the world of college football, but not everything was good, Big C. Ole Miss freshman, tight end DeMarcus Thomas, he had to be airlifted to the hospital. He sustained a serious injury during the practice Monday, and initially left without any feeling in his body. That's always a scary feeling for a young athlete, Big C. Your thoughts?
It is, Charlton, and especially at the University of Mississippi, where they have a history that the late Chucky Mullins, a couple of decades ago, Charlton, hit on the field, and he was left paralyzed after that. He wore number 38. He was a free safety with the University of Mississippi, and anytime a player comes down with some type of neck or spinal injury, Charlton, that brings back the memory of the late Chucky Mullins.
Big C, have you ever in a game been hit and maybe you lost feeling, even if it's just for a few seconds? Has that ever happened to you, Big C? Your thoughts?
I've been in a game, I've lost feeling, I've lost sight. Football is a horrific sport, Charlton. I mean, they softened it up now. You can play with a dress on the way that the game is played now compared to what it was played decades ago. But no, it's a vicious game, and the body wasn't built to play the game.
Yeah, I'm always appreciative of medical science. I remember when I was playing in college, I got knocked out one time, and I remember I saw the football coming, I saw 2 helmets, and then I saw my coach saying, "How many fingers?" And I said, 12. So they said, "Yeah, you can cut, you can come out and wait. It's all fair and level war." My goodness, Big C. There's a player by the name of DJ Uiagalelei. He plays for the University of Clemson, and he helped them good old boys come from behind. They were behind Boston College. I thought Doug Flutie was playing for Boston College. They had a young quarterback that was doing his thing. But DJ Uiagalelei, this young boy, he came back, and Trevor Lawrence wasn't really missed. I'm starting to think, is Trevor Lawrence really that good when a freshman comes in and plays the same way, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, this game was more about Clemson's defense. When you think about what they were not doing as far as stopping Boston College. I mean, this was the first time that Clemson had been scored on in the first quarter. They gave up 2 touchdowns. It was the first time they had been behind Charlton all year long.
Yeah.
So this defense was not playing well for Clemson. But the biggest story in the game was Travis Etienne. When you look at him, I know the freshman quarterback had a good game, but Travis Etienne was the difference maker in this game, running and catching the ball.
Yeah, he actually becomes the all-time rushing leader in the ACC. So big game is lining up, and for people that say, "Oh my God, we don't have Trevor Lawrence," this young freshman quarterback, they won the high school football national championship last year out of St. John Bosco, Bellflower, California, down in Orange County, and he's the real deal, Big C. So Notre Dame football coach Brian Kelly and his players understand the magnitude of facing number 1 Clemson on Saturday. I think Alabama's number 1, but that's just my opinion. But the game takes a different meaning. The freshmen coming in to play against the Fighting Irish, and they're also an ACC member this time. Your thoughts?
Well, I don't know if it makes a difference. I mean, Trevor Lawrence was a freshman when he took over down at the University of Clemson, and he led them to a national championship.
Yeah.
So this program is used to that type of young player playing.
Yeah. I know it's going to be, there's no crowd noise, so there may be an advantage for a road team coming in there. With Etienne and running the ball, I think Notre Dame's overrated. I think we'll find out on Saturday. But, hey, it's all fair in love and war. Sometimes at Notre Dame they keep the grass high. I don't know if they have AstroTurf or if they have natural grass, but no matter what it is, I still look at Clemson having the advantage just because their run game is so solid. I also want to take you down to sometimes, I mean, they have this sportsmanlike conduct, and we look at young people and say they got to learn from the old people. They got to learn from the adults, Big C. And as you always say, sometimes you need an adult in the room. Really, Florida Gators coach Dan Mullen, he's an adult, but he's been fined $25,000. He's been issued a reprimand for violating SEC bylaws, Big C, governing sportsmanship of all things, after a brawl interrupted during a game against Missouri. People from Missouri are so nice, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, Dan Mullen seemed to antagonize the situation that was going on as the teams that were leaving the field at halftime and this brawl broke out, Charlton. Just an unfortunate incident for college sports to occur. And not only that, you know, the coach laid a few gestures on the crowd as he was walking through the tunnel.
Yeah.
So it was proper that the league fined him to set an example that this will not be tolerated.
Yeah, it shouldn't be tolerated, but we know sometimes it is tolerated, and a lot of times people say that got our guys fired up, even though they never come and say that on national TV. But it's all fair in love and war. Big C, Alabama's offense on historic pace throughout 2020 COVID-19 season, and they're missing one of their star receivers also, following a 41-0 victory. The numbers have just been adjusted somewhat. Yards per game, 552.2. Passing yards per game, 380. And points per game, 47.2. It's dipped a little bit, but rushing yards per game, 175.2 has increased. This is the point the Crimson Tide have been able to do whatever they wanted to do, however they wanted to do it. And so, you know, Mike Leach doesn't look like that coaching genius so far. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, Nick Saban has made a lot of people look that way when it comes to coaching. And you think about where he is since he's been with the Crimson Tide. This was his 25th shutout as a head coach with the Crimson Tide. So far and away, the leader in the SEC as far as shutouts amongst football teams, Charlton. So when you think about this offense, and everybody gave it all that praise last year when Tua was the quarterback, this offense is actually playing better under Mac Jones than they did under Tua last year, Charlton. So right now, I mean, I don't know if anybody can beat Alabama when it comes down to college football playoffs.
Where do they get a hold of USC? It's all fair left word, Big C. I hear even Ronnie Lott's out doing some bench pressing. We'll see what happens if they get a chance to play the Minute Troy. But I want to go up north. I miss the environment at Happy Valley because when they have the whiteout, which Donald Trump's very happy about the whiteout, even though it's going to be it's going to be turned blue in the election in the state of Pennsylvania. But the Ohio State in a class all of its own in the Big Ten, Big C. The number 3 Buckeyes, and I think there should be higher than that. They took care of number 8-10 Penn State by the score of 38-25 on Saturday, and the game was not that close, Big C. Your thoughts?
No, Ohio State is basically the Death Star of the Big Ten.
Yeah.
There's no competition in that conference that can play with the Buckeyes. Ryan Day, the head coach, has been a master since he's been the head coach of the Buckeyes. He's actually, I believe he's 21-1 as a head coach of the Buckeyes.
You know what, Big C? When I think about their quarterback Fields, I'm just my opinion, but I think he is as good as any quarterback I've ever seen, whether it's Big Ten or not. And he and Trevor Lawrence are one thing. I mean, they're kind of 1 and 2, it seems. But he has such a command of the game. He never seems to get rattled, and I think he makes a big difference for Ohio State. But their defense is good, too. But Penn State put up a good fight coming back in the end. It's all fair and love and war. I know some good old boys in the Big 12 can't be too happy. The Big 12 playoff picture, it looks pretty dim, Big C. Number 6, Oklahoma State. I thought they would lose. They lost 41-34 in overtime to Texas. There are no undefeated teams left in the Big 12. The Cowboys had 4 turnovers, and they also gave up a touchdown on a kick return, Big C. Your thoughts?
And they were up by 14 points in the fourth quarter, Charlton, and they had the best defense in the conference coming into that game, but they had no answer for Sam Ehlinger making big plays. They held him to under 180 yards passing, Charlton, but the timely passes he made with the 3 touchdown passes he had in the game, making the big plays for Texas. And now Oklahoma State is on the outside looking in the college football playoff.
Yeah, outside looking. You don't want to be outside somebody's house looking in down in Oklahoma. Sometimes the good old boys, they might have something waiting for you. We're going to try to pump up your volume a little bit, Big C. College football. Jim Harbaugh. Who's the guy that's better than us? Mel Tucker, I think, Big C. Maybe he's won out his welcome. I know the point spread was 24.5. It was a really bad loss for the Wolverines. I didn't think that in a rival game that 24.5 was good at anything. I was thinking maybe about a 7-point game because Michigan State loves to knock off Michigan whenever they're ranked and having a chance to go someplace. A 27-24 win, and Mel Tucker comes out of Colorado, the Pac-12, and gets the win against the Big Ten powerhouse. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, this was one of those games when you look at the point spread, when you look at Michigan State, they had been drubbed the week before against the University of Rutgers.
Yeah.
And they came into the big house and kicked a little butt against Michigan, and now they're going home with the little brown dress. But
yeah.
I think the tolerance level at the University of Michigan for Jim Harbaugh may be gone, and he may be looking for an NFL job at the end of the season because they have not renewed his contract.
Yeah, he might want to get out of there anyway. If you're going to say, who's the guy that better than us? Everybody, it seems lately, Big C, especially in the state of Michigan. College football, you ever run across a Bearcat? Be careful. Cincinnati, they're making a strong postseason statement, Big C. The number 7 Bearcats, they throttled Memphis 49-10 on Saturday. And Cincy's a great defense. I mean, they're really good. But his quarterback, Desmond Riddler, that good old boy can play, Big C. He was doing his thing. And the offense that had this team primed to make a New Year's Day six bowl run, Big C, in my opinion. Your thoughts?
You know, Luke Fickell has done a tremendous job since leaving Ohio State and taking the job at Cincinnati.
Yeah.
He has recruited the top flight athletes there from the Midwest. I think he's only second in the state to Ohio State as far as getting the prime players, Dalton. But when you think about Cincinnati being undefeated,
yep,
he has turned this program around, and they're primed for a New Year's Six bowl day.
Yeah, they're a really good team, and they're obviously not the best team in Ohio, but they're a very good football team in the college football landscape. They just jumped on SMU the week before, so I'm wishing them good old boys nothing but the best. I want to run back to the NFL, Big C. There's some things that are on my mind, and then I want to close out with your thoughts on the election because I think it's so important. I don't want to take anything for granted. The Bears, Javon Wims, suspended 2 games for punching the Saints' Chauncey Gardner, Big C. And it was Wims, I think it sucker punched him is what they're saying. And the New Orleans Saints defensive back, Gardner Johnson, during the third quarter of Chicago's loss on Sunday. There's no room for fighting, but let's be honest. Guys fight all the time in the NFL, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Gardner Johnson might want to think about hiring a bodyguard. I mean, Michael Thomas hit him a couple of weeks ago in practice, and he got suspended. So he is getting guys suspended left and right. But, you know, if somebody did that on the street, that's assault, and you're going to get arrested for it. It was a very stupid play, and the Bears, you know, it potentially cost them the game.
Yeah.
I mean, the league is going to suspend him 2 games, but if Chicago had any kind of sense, and I don't know if Matt Nagy does, he would be on the waiver wire.
Yeah. Well, I saw Lyle Alzado do some stupid things when he was playing in the game back in the day, but maybe he was watching some old games in the NFL when people play that way all the time, Big C. The NFL, San Francisco 49ers quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo is expected to be sidelined a minimum of 6 weeks after suffering a high ankle sprain against the Seattle Seahawks on Sunday. Also, tight end George Kittle suffered a broken bone in his foot, as you always talked about. But I think when it comes to the 49ers, at some point in time, just like people are tired of Donald Trump, and I think you're going to see that, he's going to have to go to the courts to try to see if there's any good old boys that will keep him in office. But he's going to be kicked out of office. But at some point in time, this would be a great time to package up Jimmy Garoppolo and say, you know what? We have a guy that comes off the bench and throws 3 touchdown passes. You could only throw 1, and you struggled and you threw an interception. He still has some value to people. Why not just try to pack him up and ship him out of town? You get something for him, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, that's the possibility. I understand Garoppolo has no more guaranteed money on his contract after this year, so they could cut him or trade him, whichever's there. New England might be a good landing spot for him to go back to.
Yeah, if he wants to be around, they have no one they can block. Imagine how tough it is for Cam Newton to run with no one blocking. Imagine putting a guy that can't run back there. But thinking about going to the East Coast, will the Jets win a game? And I'm serious. Broadway Joe, he had a losing record as a quarterback. People don't know that. But he did help them win the Super Bowl. And this Jets team, they couldn't even beat that team that Joe played back in the 60s. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the Jets right now are very inept. And you think about a team that potentially can go 0-16. The Jets are trying to do that.
You really think they're trying to go 0-16, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, I don't think they're too happy with that quarterback they drafted out of USC. He's very lackluster. He's averaging less than 200 yards a game passing, and he has a turnover in every game. So I think they're looking to get him out of town.
Yeah, it's amazing how it's all fair and level. I told you about kissing on those girls from New York City. It's not always what it seems. So some freak injuries are often part of the sport, and we know that. But the Minnesota Vikings cornerback Mark Fields suffered a very strange one during Sunday's 28-22 win over the Green Bay Packers. He suffered a punctured lung as the cleat of a Packers wide receiver, Equanimeous St. Brown, struck him during the game. Has that ever happened to you, Big C? Your thoughts?
No, I've never had a punctured lung, but I mean, that goes back to the second game of the season. If you think about Tyrod Taylor, when he was getting an injection to numb up some broken ribs,
that's right.
He ended up with a punctured lung. It's a very serious injury, Charlton, and we hope him a speedy recovery.
Yeah, you're right. That's right. Tyrod Taylor. That happened on the sideline when it happened to him, or just before the game. So I hope he recovers just fine. The Raiders, Trent Brown hospitalized following a mishap with an IV, Big C, before the game against the Browns. He was taken to a hospital before the start of the game. He was airlifted. I think he had some air that entered his bloodstream, and it required immediate medical attention. So that's scary when you get hurt by your own medical doctor, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, we've seen a lot of that this year in the NFL, Charlton, problems with fetal, and that's one of the things that, you know, players take on a regular basis. But, you know, you wonder why an offensive lineman who weighs 400 pounds needs an IV, can't be dehydrated. You have another six-pack.
Yeah. He could have a Big C burger. It comes with exotic meat. It really is a tasty burger. He could have that with the Budweiser Zero. It has 0% alcohol, and I'm sure he would love that if he got to put some of that in his belly, Big C. Major League Baseball, Chicago. If free agent hurler John Lester has pitched his last game for the Cubs, he's going out on a high note, Big C, with the fans. He's 36 years old. He bought beers for patrons over Halloween weekend at 4 Chicago bars. He tweeted out that his tab, which included a 34% tip, the same number one in his uniform. Lester spent $47,094.90 between Friday and Sunday. That included $31,082.63 on Miller Lights and $16,012.27 in gratuities. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, I'm more impressed with the gratuity than I am with the big cap, because, you know, you think about John Lester extending that gratitude out to the bartenders and the waitresses and waiters talking in the bars. But, you know, a great gesture for the city of Chicago. You know, he was on that World Series winning team for Chicago, but as he goes out of Chicago, he went out with a splash and a bang.
Yeah, he went out with a splash and a bang. And what he really wanted to know was who ordered the gratuity. He didn't know what a gratuity was. But it's just a tip. It's all fair in love and war. I know everybody's thinking about, you know, sports and politics, and everybody's kind of on edge at times. But this is what it takes to be in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Not even the Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean run the same. They flow up against each other. The Pacific Ocean is a little bit darker in color, and the Atlantic Ocean is a little bit lighter in color. That's by nature. So even in nature, not everybody flows the same way, whether you're Democrat or Republican. I'm asking all of my decent Republican friends, I'm asking you to vote for decency. That means you vote for Joe Biden. If President Obama, that I love seeing out speaking, Big C, if he would have taken the time to go as low and as mean as Donald Trump, there's no way people would have voted for that garbage. People can't go into schools because schools are closed down. Why? Because Donald Trump handled COVID wrong. He lied about it. I mean, you have so many countries around the world that are not affected the way we are. So when people go out and vote, they're boarding up cities on the East Coast because they know that Trump is going to lose, and they think that he's going to try to incite violence. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, he has incited violence. It's been going on already through his racial rhetoric. And so this is what he is. He's a divider. He is not trying to bring this country together in unity. He never has. He is stuck for those people who look like him his entire time, regardless of who else has voted for him. Those people who look like him and think like him are the ones that have kept him in office.
Yeah, well, things are going to change. I think the House is looking at taking over, the Democrats looking at taking over the House and the Senate based on the down ballot. A lot of people are going out voting. There's a lot of local elections that are up for grabs, and a lot of people are seeing the states are going to be turning more Democratic. It doesn't mean that everything's going to be easy. I think we need balance of power in government, but there's a lot of swing states that are going to be turning blue, whether you're looking at Texas or Georgia or North Carolina, Big C. And to me, we haven't seen that since Clinton came into office and had some victories. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, this is what the country should be. I mean, we talk about red states, we talk about blue states. It's supposed to be the United States, Charlton. This is a country that's been divided for the last 4 years through racial and vitriol. And we can't have that if we're to succeed as a unified nation.
Yeah, I know for me, I just appreciate people that are enthusiastic and people are getting out to vote and young people are paying more attention to what goes on in the world of voting. But if you have the chance to get out, I've already voted. My whole family's voted, so I'm glad I got that done. But there's still going to be a lot of people out standing in lines tomorrow. Make sure you take something to drink. I don't know how you're going to use the restroom, but whatever you got to do, you got to get out and plan to vote. You can't just show up. But if people can do it for concerts, Big C, and they can do it for sporting events, they can also do it for voting. Election day is Tuesday, November 3rd, 2020, and all the voters should be prepared to do it. We can't keep saying that it's somebody's fault if we don't like something about our country. Make sure you get out and do it. It's your constitutional duty, because we didn't always have the right to vote. And we're so close to losing the vote with Donald Trump going to the federal courts. Did you ever think we would see that in 2020, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I think about the thousands of black people who died and sacrificed for black people to have an opportunity to vote in America today. And for those black people of today who will not exercise that right that their forefathers and foremothers sacrificed so much for them to have the opportunity to do, I think that is a disgrace to them and a disgrace to black history in America. For all those who died and suffered, for us to have freedom and an opportunity to exercise our votes, and we're too damn lazy to go to a poll and do that. Never complain if you don't get the guy in that you want.
Yeah, and especially for you women, and you tired of a man telling you what to do in your house or telling you what to do, the Me Too movement. Where is the Me Too movement in their push to try to keep the right to control what happens to their bodies, the sovereignty over their bodies? I know people say that POTUS elected a lot of federal judges to the court, but I believe in the decency of human beings. These federal judges, they reject the GOP's bid to toss out 127,000 drive-through ballots down in Harrison County, Texas. If you have decency in Texas, that means there's hope for everybody, Big C. So no matter who you are, vote. I'm saying vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Get rid of bigotry. No one stays in the bathroom when it stinks. Flush the toilet. Get rid of racism. Get rid of sexism. Get rid of bigotry and the xenophobia. You can vote just like you can vote on your phone. You can vote on the ballot. Make sure you get out and do it. It's your constitutional duty. Big C, back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. And he would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, tomorrow is the biggest day in the NFL. It's the trade deadline, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, Tuesday, November 3rd. So we're going to see who's going and who's staying and what team is trying to make a push for the playoffs. Charlton, I want to thank our frontline healthcare workers, our nurses, doctors, first responders. They make a push for health and safety every day in America.
Every day in America. And remember, when you vote, POTUS says that doctors want to say people have COVID so they can make more money. Tell that to over 1,000 first responders who've lost their lives. Get this garbage out of the White House. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. No matter wherever you are in the world, just follow Big C Sports, and we really appreciate the way things are going with Big C Sports. As we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, there's no excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, please pick up the phone and ask for help, because no man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. As we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.